right, how are you guys doing? Cale, Hammond here for podcast number 2. Well, not necessarily a podcast, since I've got about maybe 1 to 2 listeners as of right now. Let's just get right into it. Let's start with the first couple games. So I've got a bit of a cold, so I'm going to be sniffling. I apologize for that, but what can you do? You got to go to work sick sometimes. Let's start with Miami at Charlotte. So Al Jefferson seems to be healthy. Kemba Walker, I believe, is going to play. I'm not going to spend too much time on this game. Miami, as you saw last night, played Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City's got 2 of the elite scorers in the entire league, and none of them got over 20 points. That's just the pace Miami plays at. They're just not going to give you a lot of fantasy points. There's not that many fantasy points to be had in a game against Miami as opposed to a game against someone like Phoenix or Los Angeles. It's just a different style of basketball. And for me, I don't see why you would target that game. I'm not sure what the over-under is. Let me do a better job of looking. I don't do a good enough job at looking at over-unders anyway. It's one of the most important aspects of the game. But in all honesty, I have seen enough NBA games. I know how the teams play. The over-under is, I'll be able to get the over-under within about 4 to 5 points every time. Actually, I'm gonna start guessing the over/under. Let's see, Miami versus Charlotte. Man, I'm gonna give this over/under a. I'm gonna give this one a 193, and that's honestly sort of generous. I'm gonna give that 193 over/under. I think that's a good line. I wouldn't know whether to go up or down on that. It's probably gonna be under 193. I wouldn't be surprised if the over/under was a little lower. Sorry for digressing so much, but talking about the over/under of this game is actually a little bit more interesting than talking about the some of the fantasy options. Hassan Whiteside is not going to travel with the team, so Bosch should see an increase in value. So if you feel like it, I think that Chris Bosch would be the one player to target from this game. Dwayne Wade, you can play him if you want. Not for me. I'm not going to play any players from this game. I just don't think it's going to be high scoring enough. I'm going to move on. Utah versus Cleveland. So this is a game, man, believe it or not, I am actually excited to see how this game turns out. I think we've got a lot of interesting backstories and interesting matchups about this matchup. Let's start with the Cleveland side of the ball. So LeBron, definitely his last couple games, he's gonna be LeBron. He's back to being LeBron. He's gonna get his 40+ fantasy points every night, and he's gonna try and win the game for his team because he's the best player in the world. And why wouldn't you do that? I guess it would be tough to play with LeBron. I mean, a guy that makes that many quick decisions, a guy that passes that just incredibly well. If your intensity level is not maxed out when you're on the court with LeBron James, you're gonna play really bad. He plays the game at such a high level that if you're not ready to go at that level from the beginning, then I think that it and we've seen it with the way the players play. If you're not playing at 100% intensity level when LeBron's on your team and feeling good, then you're not going to have your best game. You're going to look a little out of it. And I think we've seen that with Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving in a couple of games. Kyrie's playing better. Kyrie's one of the, I've said it before, I'll say it again, he's one of the best offensive players like you'll ever see. His ability to handle the basketball, his ability to weave in and out of traffic. And LeBron said it himself, Kyrie's the best finisher in the game. And he is. He's the best under-the-rim finisher in the game. The way I feel like I can talk about Kyrie, I don't know, I can't. I guess he only played 12 games at Duke, but I went to several of those games, and just the way that Kyrie would be able to go full speed in traffic and put enough English on the ball to have it hit the lower part of the backboard, spin up to the right, drop in, doesn't even hit rim. His finishes hardly even hit rim. He just cashes them. So he is in play tonight. I would not play Kyrie simply because of the monster that is Rudy Gobert in this past month. LeBron, I don't think LeBron necessarily is going to be affected by Rudy Gobert. LeBron's sort of been there, done that. He's never played against anyone as big as Gobert or as imposing with his length as Gobert. But we've seen LeBron. You can't block LeBron's shot. LeBron takes the ball at you. You get a foul called. You hear the whistle. You think, oh shit. You just tackle him. I don't know. Shot blockers don't really seem to affect LeBron because he's just on another planet. Let's see. Kevin Love, I would steer clear Kevin Love. Maybe if his price starts to drop a little bit. But I think that we're about to see Kevin Love be the number 3 option on the team. I think we've already seen it in a couple of games. Kevin Love is the 3rd best player on the court. And that's just, I don't even think, honestly, I really don't think Kevin Love's that incredible. He puts up all these remarkable numbers, just ridiculous numbers, like 25 and 25. And then he'll lose the game. The concentration of statistics in that manner is not a good thing for winning basketball games. You see it with the Spurs. You see it with the Hawks. They're impossible teams to pick because they spread the wealth so effectively. And guys like Kevin Love, I think he's just, the future of basketball is heading in a different direction than a guy trying to get 20 and 20 every night. And it's not the way Andre Drummond does it, because the way I've seen Andre Drummond get his 20 and 20, 9 of his rebounds every game are tip-ins that come from way above the rim, places that Kevin Love has to fly to. He has to book a ticket if he wants to get as high as Andre Drummond does. It's just a different thing. And I think that the coach, even Cleveland, said when he talked about Kevin Love being a max player, he said Kevin Love's not a max player yet. I couldn't agree more. Why don't you start winning some basketball games and getting everyone else involved and start playing more effectively? And you can't argue with his numbers. You could pull up Kevin Love's numbers are fucking incredible. But I think that everyone understands. I think Kevin Love is just the 3rd best player on the team, and I do not necessarily feel comfortable. Let me see how much Kevin Love costs. I do not necessarily feel comfortable paying $9,500 for the 3rd best player on the team, especially going up against a center who is 7'5". All right, so let's. J.R. Smith, he's worth a look this game. He's been having a couple good games. I personally would not target him just because I don't like targeting anyone who's a 4th option on a team. I don't think it's a smart decision. So let's switch over to the Utah side of the ball. Got to look at Derek Favors. Last 15 days, averaging 19 points, 10.6 rebounds, and you guys are lucky that I'm being honest with you today. It's 10.6 rebounds. I could have rounded that up to 11. I could have said last 15 days, Derek Favors averaging 19 points, 11 rebounds, but he's not. It's 10.6 rebounds. And another statistic that I think is pretty remarkable is that Rudy Gobert has had 38 blocks in his last 9 games. Did the math on this one. I believe it is 4.2 blocks per game. So that is 10 points coming from simply blocks in a game. So not necessarily going to target Rudy Gobert. I think he might be a little overpriced for how unpolished offensively he is. But you saw it in Denver. You would always target centers playing against Denver. Now Mozgov is on the Cavs. What's changed about that? Why can't you target centers against Mozgov? It really doesn't. I mean, yeah, the surrounding players are definitely better, but I think it's still the same person defending the center position who would always get eaten alive by good centers. Let's see. Trey Burke, if Kyrie defends him, is a good play. I'm not going to pay for him just because I think his ceiling is so low. Yeah, that's about it. Gordon Hayward hit that game-winning shot against Miami last time. I don't think that Gordon Hayward is a smart pick. He's a fair price. He might hit value, but if LeBron decides he wants to stop Gordon Hayward, then Gordon Hayward is going nowhere. And I don't want to bet on players in a 12-game slate. I don't want to bet on any what-if scenarios. I want my value to be there. So that's all I have for that game. Let's go to Philadelphia. New York Knicks versus Philadelphia. Philadelphia is favored in this game. Two options I see for Philadelphia. Nerlens Noel is playing very well. I would not pick Nerlens Noel just because I don't think the human pogo stick is necessarily a great basketball player yet, but his peripheral stats, his steals and blocks, those are replicable. His points and rebounds are, I don't know, it's a little frustrating to see a guy with that athleticism not quite click just yet, but it's sort of happening in spurts. He'll have a good spurt, a bad spurt. He's in the midst of a good spurt, so if you want to pick him, go right ahead. I'm not gonna say anything about it. It's probably a good pick. And he's cheap. I believe he's around $5K on DraftKings. He's $5,300 on DraftKings against the New York Knicks. So that's not a bad play whatsoever. You got to look at Michael Carter-Williams in this game. I sort of feel bad for the guy. Michael Carter-Williams is a very, very talented basketball player. But think about it. If you're a player and your record in the last, 200 games or 150 is, you're not even winning 10. You're winning 10 to 15% of your, like, if you're losing 9 out of 10 games, like, it's just so hard for a player to bring the energy night in and bring the type of intensity that translates into just the accumulation of statistics. But that being said, if we're ever going to see it from MCW, see another triple-double, it's going to be tonight against this just abomination of a team. And I say abomination of a team, but I believe I have 2 Knickerbockers in my lineup tonight, so I'll talk about that in about 3 seconds. Here we go, the New York Knicks side of the ball. Carmelo Anthony is looking at the rebounds allowed statistics, so just sort of take it for what you will. The total number of rebounds allowed per game Philadelphia is the highest. They allow the most rebounds per game. So I looked and filtered to see who averages the most rebounds for New York. And we've got 2 guys that are both pretty good players that are in action tonight. Carmelo Anthony and Amari Stoudemire. And due to the recent I don't even know what to say, but with what the Knicks have been doing recently, they're a little underpriced. Carmelo, I don't picture a scenario where Carmelo's playing Philadelphia and takes less than 20 shots. Carmelo will take more than 20 shots. It's just, unless there's something that I don't know, that Carmelo is just wants to show his team that they need him to shoot, or he does. I'm playing Carmelo. I'm sorry. Carmelo is 8,800. Guy's going to shoot it 20 times. He's an amazing offensive player. He's going to get some rebounds. He's going to get some steals. I'm just praying that Carmelo Anthony and Amari Stoudemire just bring just 10% of the pride that they can. Just 10% of the pride. And if I think that these 2 players show a little bit of pride, bring 10% of their effort, and just try and beat. If Amari Stoudemire and Carmelo Anthony just really, really dig deep and try and beat the Philadelphia 76ers, I think that both of these players will greatly exceed their value. Another player, Langston Galloway, is getting some minutes, getting some points, had a great game last time. To be quite honest with you, with Carmelo playing, I can't trust the guy. He's 3,700. He probably should be 3K still, even though he's played I don't know. I've gotten burned whenever the Knicks started their little free fall and they started having players have good games for 30 minutes. I would always jump on those players. Be like, oh, he played 34 minutes this last game. He's bound to play at least 25 minutes the next game. No, that's not the case. I believe Clay Anthony early one time came off a high 20-minute game, scored about 30-something fantasy points, and then the next game he played about 13 to 14 minutes. So I'm not in the business of trying to predict which Knickerbocker that belongs in the D-League is going to step it up for 30 minutes and have a respectable game. I just can't do that. Let's go to the Pacers at the Hawks. Let's see. I'm actually playing CJ Miles tonight. I think he's a really good scorer. I don't know necessarily how great of a player is. I think the Hawks are going to run away with this one. That being said, I think CJ Miles is going to come off the bench and start chucking. I think he's going to put up 15 shots, and he's a good shooter. I think he's going to hit several threes tonight, and he's only 5K. He seems to hit value more often than not. I'm going with CJ Miles hitting value. The Hawks don't necessarily defend the shooting guard position incredibly well. They defend every position well just because of the way they move the ball, and they tire people out, and they're a great team. But CJ Miles comes off the bench. I've got a feeling he's just going to come off the bench, start chucking. He's too good to miss 11 shots in a row. We'll see what happens. But CJ Miles is in my lineup tonight. Jeff Teague playing well. He had a bad game against Detroit, but Brandon Jennings, believe it or not, plays pretty solid D. He's a really quick player. I think he presents a lot of challenges just because with the quickness of the way that guy moves. So yeah, Jeff Teague's in play. I mean, honestly, it's the same as usual. I would not pick anyone from the Hawks because it's going to be a lower scoring game because the Pacers always play intense defense, whether or not it's good or not this year. They always bring the effort. So I would look to a team that gives less effort on the defensive end. Which brings me over to the Magic and Pistons game. This is a lot of rebounds to go around between three players in this one, and all three players are in play. They are a go. Andre Drummond gonna destroy the Magic. Greg Monroe probably gonna destroy the Magic. They can't handle bigs. Those are two of the most dominant big men you'll see. And that's about it for Detroit. I think those are the two guys to target. Brandon Jennings is also in play. He's just a little tougher to predict than I just can't quite get a feel on him. He was so bad at the beginning of the year. He's been good recently. I just don't want to pick Brandon Jennings. You can pick him if you want. He's in play, definitely. He could definitely hit value tonight. I don't see it happening. Tobias Harris, I believe, is a game-time decision. If he does not play, cue up Nick Vucevic. Very, very friendly priced on DraftKings. Andre Drummond, yeah, he's got 700-inch vertical, 6,000-inch wingspan. Does not stay on his feet. Nick Vooch can pump fake him out of the gym. Nick Vooch is in line for a good game. Drummond is a physical, imposing specimen, does not play good defense, and I think that's sort of the reason I'm not picking Drummond is because I worry that Nick Vooch is going to take Andre Drummond to school a couple times, and I think Stan Van Gundy might be a little upset about Drummond's defense. And so, that being said, I'm going to target Greg Monroe. He's not in my lineup. I could not fit him in with Carmelo Anthony and some of the other plays I have, but Greg Monroe is the big guy that I would target from this game. Let's see. Yeah, there's on a 12-game slate, I'm not going to spend time talking about players I don't need to talk about. So let's go to the next game. Raptors versus Grizzlies. I would not target too many players from this game. Perimeter scorers against the Grizzlies have been doing well, and DeMar DeRozan is back, and he's pretty cheap right now. So DeMar DeRozan is a great candidate to hit value. If you're trying to get a cheap punt play, Grievous Vasquez might hit value. Zach Randolph has been just being a monster down low. So if you want Zebo in your lineup, you look at his last 5 games. He's in double figures, points, rebounds, every single one of those games. The guy's a model of consistency. Go for it. Kyle Lowry's gone. Don't take anyone against Mike Conley. Why would you? Don't even think about it. The fact that DeRozan is back is enough to chill on Kyle Lowry until his price drops to a fair number. But for future reference, if you're ever playing a point guard against Mike Conley, who's not named Russell Westbrook, even I wouldn't play Russell Westbrook against Mike Conley. I'd find another option. Mike Conley is so fast. You guys just got to watch this guy. He plays at about 75% speed at all times. And then looks just as fast as the point guards he's playing against. But when this guy turns on the jets, when he decides he wants to close out on a defender, when he decides he wants to go for a steal, when he turns on his gas, Mike Conley is one of the quickest and best moving athletes I've ever seen in my life. The guy's footwork, and Mike Conley. I'll talk about him a little bit more. Well, my girlfriend is friends with Mike Conley's cousin, and I was talking to her one time. She was saying how even when they were playing basketball in the freaking driveway when they were growing up, they just knew that Mike Conley had just a special gift. He was it was always just magical the way he got to these places and the way he played the game. And it makes perfect sense because if you look at how quick he is and how effortlessly and freaking lightning quick he moves, it makes sense that he had a gift because he's probably always in the right place at the right time because he's just so freaking fast. So that's not going to be the last time I go on a rant about Mike Conley. I think this guy is the most underrated player in the league. If you want to pick Mike Conley, not tonight. Don't do it. He's a little limited offensively to pick tonight. But, yeah, Mike Conley's one of my favorite players. He's a few people move as well as Mike Conley does. I'll just leave it at that. Mavs at Timberwolves. Andrew Wiggins is 7,200. I really, really, really like him in this game. He had a bad game against Charlotte last time. He probably cost some people some money. Charlotte, if you look at the defense versus position rankings, Charlotte is now, of the past 30 days, for a small forward, which is what I believe Andrew Wiggins is. They are number one by a significant margin. Andrew Wiggins has an excuse. He's been killing it. He had honestly, for Charlotte, for how much better they defend small forwards in the past 25 days than any other team, Andrew Wiggins had a fine game against that team. So I think Andrew Wiggins is absolutely a player to target tonight. I don't think Chandler Parsons. Chandler Parsons he's not quite as athletic as an Andrew Wiggins. So I think there's a potential mismatch in terms of athleticism between the two players, Wiggins and Parsons. Mo Williams, maybe. Rondo does not play the best defense. He's a little expensive just because I think that outburst he had bumped his price up a little too much. Yeah, I think a lot of Mavs are in play tonight. I'm playing Monte Ellis because I just don't believe that Minnesota can stop a shooting guard, and Monte Ellis is a wonderful shooting guard, and he's been a little inconsistent. He's always a little inconsistent. He's Monte Ellis, but he's going to play. If he plays a lot of minutes, he's going to take some shots. He's going to look to be aggressive offensively, and I think he's going to have a good game. Monte Ellis is in my lineups. Let's go to the next game. Lakers versus Pelicans. Jeremy Lin with no Drew Holiday. If Drew Holiday is out, maybe target Jeremy Lin. Maybe. He's 5K. He'll get 25. If he starts and plays 30 minutes with no Drew Holiday, Jeremy Lin will get 25 fantasy points. As much as that sucks to think about. Jeremy Lin being that statistically effective in a game, even though they're going to lose. But that being said, if there is no Drew Holiday, Tyreek Evans, 8,400. I can't. You got to play him. I'm not playing him. I'm not playing him because he pissed me off. And I played him against Philadelphia without Drew Holiday, and he shit the bed. And that's why I'm upset. I think he plays a lot better when he has someone to play off of. He's a slasher. I don't think he's necessarily the best player when he has to bring the ball up and run an offense. I think that limits his effectiveness a tad bit. But that being said, point guards versus the Lakers, if he just even plays point guard for 2 possessions, I mean, he's guaranteed to get some stats. Just point guards against the Lakers. The Lakers can't do anything against the point guards. It's really sad. They're just. I mean, last time they played Phoenix, I played Isaiah Thomas and Goran Dragic, and they both had over 40 fantasy points. Isaiah Thomas had 40-something fantasy points. He played 25. It's just ridiculous. So, yeah. And honestly, if I find out that Drew Holiday is out, he's questionable right now. If I find out that Drew Holiday is out, I'm going to squeeze Tyreek into my lineups. He's just, I feel like you got to have him. And maybe that game he played a little worse because he's not playing without Anthony. Anthony Davis is one of the best players in the world. And anytime you lose one of the best players in the world from your team, you're going to struggle a little bit. You just are. It's just the way it works. If the guy's a good player. Carmelo Anthony is one of the best players in the world. If you lose Carmelo, you could probably have a great game because Carmelo is just a selfish black hole. But, yeah. So I think Tyreek Evans is the must-play of the night against the Lakers. If it was anyone else, I would look to find a reason not to play him just because I'm pissed off at him. But against the Lakers, you got to do it. There's so much. It's oozing with merit. It's just oozing with merit. Let's see. Yeah, that's if Anthony Davis plays, go for it. Think about him. It's going to be tough to fit him in with all the great options that are out there. And you're going to have to pay up today. You're going to have to pay up for some players today. And I don't know if Anthony Davis is the player to pay up for, but, I mean, can't go wrong picking Anthony Davis. Guy's a stud. Well, it's Thunder at Wizards. So, Durant playing in Washington, D.C., I sort of don't like to look into too much of the dynamics that don't have to do with shooting and rebounding a basketball, but they are important, and I think tonight is one of those games. Durant is going to play in Washington at some point in the near future for the Wizards, and I think he's going to give these guys a bit of a show tonight. I think that all his family's going to be there. It's his support system. He's the family-oriented guy. I just think that Kevin Durant is going to bring his A game, and I think he's going to just drop a bomb on the Washington Wizards. Russell Westbrook. I would not play Russell Westbrook tonight. Any night's a good night to play Russell Westbrook. Doesn't matter. He's matchup proof. He's a freak. He's a matchup proof. You can go if you're feeling Russell Westbrook, play him. Bradley Beal. There's a decent amount of options in the guard slots tonight, so it might be tough to fit him in your lineups. But Bradley Beal is going to have a good game. Thunder do not defend the shooting guard position as well. They just don't defend it very well. And last time they played at Oklahoma City, Bradley Beal had a great game. I don't see why he wouldn't have a good game again. Another play to target, John Wall. His price is dropping a little bit. Russell Westbrook, sadly, I don't understand, doesn't play very good defense. He's just he's an idiot. I don't know how else to say. If Russell Westbrook wanted to be the best defender in the league, he would be the best defender in the league. It's just, I don't like talking about Russell Westbrook. It's really upsetting to me. So let's move on. Chris Kaman. LaMarcus Aldridge is out. Chris Kaman is my center for the night. Those of you who got burned by Chris Kaman, I am sorry. I have been burned by him too. But with his offensive ability, with the minutes he's probably going to get with no LaMarcus Aldridge, against a team that historically doesn't... I think Alex Len is a much better defender than Miles Plumlee, but I still don't think that Alex Len is one of the best defending centers in the league. He's starting to play the last two games. He's only played about 18 to 22 minutes, and that's just... I thought the guy was I thought he got his job. I thought he got it. I thought he was the starting center, and I thought he was the guy. And now those last two games, maybe they're sort of resting, and maybe he's sore. But even so, Chris Kaman, not going to bang down low. Chris Kaman can score on most about anyone. Yeah, he actually can, believe it or not. Chris Kaman is very gifted offensively. He's a liability on the other end of the floor, but offensively, Chris Kaman, I see no problems with his basketball game on the offensive end. In my lineup, Damian Lillard. No LaMarcus Aldridge. Damian Lillard is just disgusting at basketball. Damian Lillard is one of the best players in the league. He's one of the best point guards, if not the best point guard on the West Coast. You're going to, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook. Damian Lillard is so dope. Let me just look at his freaking numbers recently. I mean, on the season, the guy's averaging 22, 6, and 5. That is really, really, really good. I mean, I wish he had a little more assists, but what are we doing? We're nitpicking here. Damian Lillard is the third best point guard in the league in terms of fantasy points scored, and he's without LaMarcus Aldridge. LaMarcus Aldridge is one of the best power forwards in terms of fan. Let's see what he's ranking for me. Oh, LaMarcus Aldridge is the third best power forward fantasy-wise in the league, with the subtraction of a 25.10 rebound candidate. Look for Damian Lillard to get 30 points tonight. I'm just going to say it. He might come out less than aggressive. He might be guarded. I don't know. Damian Lillard is a must-play tonight. You must play Damian Lillard against this Phoenix Suns team. If Jeremy Lin can get 40 fantasy points against the Phoenix Suns, just think about what Damian Lillard could do if it was like even just a pretty decent night. Goran Dragic playing well. He's underpriced. He's one of those guys. He seems to be a tad underpriced. He's playing really solid. Last 3 games, 18, 2, 4, 2, 21, 8, 5, 24, 9, 5, 1. Damian Lillard is not the best defender. He has stepped it up on the defensive end a bit. He's still not the best defender in the league. Goran Dragic is going to have a fine time. He's not going to do anything ridiculous, but Goran Dragic, I believe, will have a good game. Another player to look at is Myers Leonard. I'm not going to play him. I don't want to talk about him. I just think that you should look at Myers Leonard if you watch the game. I bet he'll play some minutes. I bet he'll hit some shots. If Aldridge is out, maybe this guy is going to start finding a solidified spot where he can begin to exceed his value threshold. It's probably going to happen tonight. I wouldn't recommend doing it. I would steer clear. I don't think it's worth the risk. There's plenty of other options to find. But look out for Myers Leonard. His shot looked pretty solid. He's a 7-footer who's hitting open jumpers. Like that's important. Eric Bledsoe. I wish this guy would fall. They don't make it fun. Eric Bledsoe is such a fun player to try and pick because he has these games where you really can't tell when it's going to come, but he has these games where he'll just go off and he'll just get a triple-double, close to a triple-double, 30 points, 31 points, 29. But he doesn't do it consistently enough to be is priced the way he's priced at $8,600 right now. That's starting to become a bit more fair. Going up against Wesley Matthews. Wesley Matthews is a great defender. But Eric Bledsoe is not a typical shooting guard. Wesley Matthews is a great defender of the shooting guard position. Eric Bledsoe is not a prototypical shooting guard. So that being said, I believe that Eric Bledsoe is going to give us a 40-burger tonight. I don't think Wesley Matthews can stay in front of him. I don't think anyone can stay in front of him. I think that if he decides to show up and show this Portland team what he's capable of, he's going to have a great game. So that being said, Eric Bledsoe in play. I wouldn't target him. I would wait. I would go with an option that is more solidified, but maybe for a contest, maybe for something. I just think that he's going to have a good game. So my lineup is looking like this. Goran Dragic, Monte Ellis, C.J. Miles, Amari Stoudemire, Chris Kaman, Carmelo Anthony, Damian Lillard, and filling in at the guard spot. Hopefully this changes by the end of the day. I could not pick Langston Galloway. I couldn't. So I looked up guards who played the most minutes over the past 15 days, and I think something that we see, let me sort it by minutes. It sounds horrible. It's gross. I don't want to do it. Courtney Lee is averaging 32 minutes per game over the last couple of weeks. He's averaging a bit more than that, actually, over the last couple of weeks. And he also has scored in double figures his last 5 games. I temporarily am playing Courtney Lee. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want you to say anything about it. Just let me submit my lineup without criticism for playing Courtney Lee, because I understand that criticism is warranted. But I've got some numbers to back it up. I've got some minutes to back it up. So that's how I feel about that. And the last game of the night, I didn't really take any notes on. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Houston versus Golden State. I don't know who's playing where. Steph Curry's in play. James Harden's in play. Dwight Howard, I would not play. Every player in this game is so expensive. It's just tough. On a 12-game slate, you want to have a little exposure because it's such a high over/under, but you're gonna pay for it, and I don't feel like paying for it tonight. I can't trust James Harden against this team. He'll probably have 50 fantasy points. Steph Curry, same thing. He's matchup proof. Patrick Beverley's not gonna really slow him down too much, but Steph Curry has games sometimes where they're rolling, they're playing well. He doesn't need to score the basketball as much as he is capable of. So sometimes Steph Curry, fantasy-wise, it's good for regular basketball, but for fantasy basketball, Steph Curry can sometimes take his foot off the gas pedal. That's why you see him in the 10K price range, not in the 11s, 12s, where he could be if he wanted to. And also, I think that Golden State's going to win this game. Golden State plays a really, really solid defense, and the offensive weapons for Golden State are so expensive, I don't feel like paying for them. So that's about it for the games I have tonight. Lineup: Dragic, Ellis, Miles, Stoudemire, Kaman, Lee, Anthony, Lillard. Call me crazy. I really think Carmelo Anthony against the 76ers is a great play. I do. I think he's going to hit value. I think he's going to exceed value. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see tonight. Only time will tell. We'll find out in about 7 hours. So whoever's listening, thank you for listening, and I will see you guys later.